Okay, friends, so by now you've read through your coaching materials and you understand the basics of what it means to coach a person, to help them find the answers within themselves, to help guide them to their next steps through your questioning, through being present, and through reflecting back what you're hearing them say and asking what they're going to commit to moving forward. So I want you to believe that you are now ready to practice these skills. Bonus, if you already watched the free 5-day training that I provided you with, which talks about assuming the identity of the coach on day one, which is a major thing that holds people back, is because we're still thinking of ourselves as what we've been doing forever, right? We're still thinking of ourselves in the role of the employee. This program is really going to help you step into understanding that this is you stepping into being an entrepreneur, you growing a coaching business, you stepping into the identity of being a coach, right? So now it's time to take it from theory, right? Or being in student mode, which I also talk about in the free 5-day training, being in student mode to now being in coach mode. You are being a student and consuming the work, understanding the coaching concepts. Now we actually have to be a coach and practice it. Hopefully, you've also taken some time to practice these skills at work, talking to colleagues, talking to friends, just in the way that you're showing up in that level of presence and reflecting back what you're hearing and asking quality questions and coaching yourself, right? But now let's actually start talking about how we're going to practice these skills with real people. Here's where I see a lot of coaching programs really failing their students in creating containers in which they are only practicing with peers, right? It's like, oh, we're going to go around, we're going to coach each other a little bit here. You get a chance to coach me, I coach you. We get to practice these skills in theory, right? Like coaching each other. But a lot of times in that situation, people aren't really bringing quality things to be coached on, right? Because they know that they're being watched, or they may think that you're judging them, or you're in your head thinking that they're judging you and you're coaching, rather than just being present with someone who can actually benefit from your coaching, like, and show up as a client and lets you show up as the coach in that situation. So that's the container that we're creating right now, a container for you to practice these coaching skills in a real setting with a person who can benefit from coaching, who's bringing their real life situation for you to coach them on, but without some of the risk and fear and the drama that comes in when we ask them to pay us. So basically, we are coaching people for free, right? And not just one off coaching sessions, because that might make us feel good or the client feel good, right? At the end of the session, like, okay, good, we helped them with this thing, but there's no accountability there. There's no ability to see the transformation of what the work actually is capable of doing if it's just a one-off session. So we're going to be coaching people for 6 weeks. My recommendation is that you coach 10 people. Yes, 10 people. Remember, 10 hours a week. Now we're going to fill it with actually 10 clients that we will be coaching for 6 weeks. Let's talk about how we're going to find these 10 people and how we're going to structure this. Okay. Maximum effectiveness during this practice container, because there's gold in doing this process. I don't want you to bypass it. Even if you've been coaching people before, I really, really want you to do this, because it's going to be the basis for a lot of the things that we'll be doing in the future, right? This is the container in which you will be practicing those skills, strengthening that identity of you being a coach, and getting some vital decisions made in the process of these 6 weeks. So it's not just us focusing on coaching them for 6 weeks. We're coaching them. We're getting better at coaching. We're feeling confident in our coaching skills. We're bringing our coaching questions and concerns or things that we struggled with our clients to the coaching calls. But we're also making some really big decisions about your business during this time. So it's really important that you be in the act of actually coaching people, because it's really going to help you practice implementing those decisions and understanding why it's important to make them now, right? And figuring out what decisions maybe we're not talking about here that maybe come up with your clients that you bring to the coaching sessions that you need some clarity on how to deal with moving forward. Okay. So let's talk about this practice container. I first want you to make a list of 25 people who could benefit from your coaching. 25 people that you know, 25, 30 people, right? That you know that could benefit from your coaching. And here's what I want you to consider as you're making this list. I want you to consider your level of comfort in coaching them. So one of the things that I will tell you is to avoid coaching people that are very close to you, such as um, parents, right? Doesn't make for the best coaching relationship. Super close friends, because maybe you won't feel in your power in that situation. Like you'll revert back to being their friend versus being in the position of being their coach or being their family member, right? I've had a client who coached a family member before. I actually coached a family member before, and it was a good experience for me to practice that. But here's the thing, they're less willing to transition into become actual paying clients. And I want you to be picking people that could, because these are going to be the first people that you offer your paid coaching services to at the end of the 6 weeks. So I want you to think of people that not only you feel comfortable coaching now that you think could benefit from your coaching, but that you would be willing to take money from later on, and offer your paid coaching services to. So I want you to think about that. Think about their willingness to engage in this coaching relationship now, or you might not know that off the top because you haven't had this conversation with them. But your comfort level in coaching them and their ability to become a future paid client. The other thing to consider is their willingness to participate. Are they willing to show up weekly and commit? Or do you think it's going to be a struggle to get them to show up? Right? So create that list of 25 people. If you don't know so much about the willingness to participate, that's okay. We can figure that out on the conversation. That's why we're going to overshoot it. Even though we're aiming to get 10 people, we want to make a list of 25 to 30, maybe even more if you can think of them. Or think of where you could find additional people. So sometimes people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know 25 people. I don't know where to find these people. Okay, maybe you don't know the 25 people, which I highly doubt that in your contacts you don't have 25 people, or in your emails you don't know 25 people that you could message with this. But okay, where could you go to meet more people, right? I want you to think of what are those places that people are hanging out where I can make this offer and let them know that this is something that's available, because that's totally okay too. So that might be Facebook groups, um, going to meetup groups and offering it there, connecting with someone that has a larger social media presence and asking them to post a video there, right? Or putting it out there, creating a flyer there. However you want to get creative to do it, okay? Here's the thing though, you have to reach out to these people in the most direct manner. So if you have a phone number, that's the best way to do it. Call them. If you don't feel super confident in calling, then send them a text message. And then you resort to email, okay? But the most direct way, and here's what you're going to do when you send them that message, or when you get on the phone with them, or when you send them that email. Address them by name, right? We are not going to send a mass generic message to everyone and see who takes us up on it. Like, that's not the best way to do it. You specifically listed these people for a reason, so address them by name, right? Tell them you're offering 6 weeks of free coaching to a select group of people and they came to mind, right? Because they did. We're just telling them the truth of what we're doing. Ask them if they would be interested in learning more about your free coaching sessions. If so, schedule a date and time to talk further about it, where you're going to share again on this first initial call that it is free coaching, and all that you're asking for in return is a testimonial, an honest testimonial at the end of the 6 weeks about their experience. That is it, right? That's all you have to communicate. That's all you have to say in the beginning. And then we're just scheduling them for that initial call, and we'll talk about what that call entails. Okay? Be mindful of this thing that happens where some people will believe that they're doing you a favor if they say yes, right? Because you're phrasing it as if you need it for your certification or you need it to gain coaching hours. And they will say yes out of them believing that they are doing you a favor by signing up to be coached by you, right? That is not going to be the best experience for them. That is not the best experience for you. I need you to sell this to them and helping them understand that this is super valuable. This is valued at over $1,000, and you are giving them this amazing gift of free coaching to experience this work. Okay. They are not doing you a favor. You are doing them a favor by offering this to them. I want you to think of how much you've paid for coaching, if you've ever paid for a one-on-one coach, right? I want you to think of how much you invested in this program to be coached by me, right? That is the value of coaching. So you are giving them this huge gift. So don't approach it as if they're doing you a favor by agreeing to this. Trust that there are other people out there that want coaching. Okay. So I want to just make that very, very clear, because what happens when you get into that situation where they think they're doing you a favor, they become the type of client that doesn't show up all the time, right? They become the type of client that isn't taking it seriously or doesn't show up to the call with something valuable to talk about. And it's just not going to be the best experience for you or for them. So if that's the vibe that you're getting, call it out and say, hey, this is a gift to you, because am working on growing, how many people know about my coaching, but I really specifically thought about you because of XYZ. So is that something that you think you'd want to work on, or is there anything else going on in your life that maybe you think could benefit from, this coaching experience or this coaching container, right? So make sure that you are selling it like it's super valuable, because it is. Okay. I don't want you to give yourself a lot of time to get these people. I don't. I want you to think of how many people you can contact, right? What day and time do you have to dedicate to get this done? Right? Again, the most direct way is to pick up the phone and call them. You don't feel comfortable with that? Send them a voice note via text. Um, Send them a message. Ask them when they have time to talk further about it if they are interested, when they respond. Send it to all the people, right? See who responds, see who's interested. Once you are full with your 10, then you stop. Okay, then you say, okay, I'm full right now, but if something opens up, I'll let you know if people respond after you get your 10. Okay, so go ahead and send them that message. I want you to think of taking massive action in this case. I don't want you to think, oh, I sent the message and people didn't respond, so now I don't know what to do. I'm just waiting for them to respond. No, I want you to send the message, and then after a day or two, if they did not respond, follow up with them, right? If in this is the case, if they didn't pick up the phone and you left a voicemail, then you send the text message, hey, did you get my message? I called you regarding such and such. Would you be interested? I want you to be proactive in getting this done, because the sooner you get these people in the practice container, the sooner that you get to develop these coaching skills, the sooner you get to then transition to offering paid coaching, right? And getting out there and telling even more people. It's the sooner you're going to feel super confident in your ability to coach others. So it's super, super important that you try to get these people as soon as possible, within this week, that you have them signed up and ready and scheduled for their first session with you. Okay. Highly recommend that when you do schedule them, that you schedule them for, this is when they agree to the coaching, right? They agree that they want to partake in this and they are willing to show up every single week for 6 weeks and give an honest, again, honest testimonial at the end of their experience. Schedule them, and this is the day and time that you will keep for the whole 6 weeks. Let them know if anything comes up. Yes, we are able to, make arrangements or change the day or time or whatever. But for the most part, let's try to keep this day and time. It's going to be good for you. It's going to be good for them, right? Because you know what 10 hours you have allotted to being able to coach, or whatever hours that you're committing to. And you want them to agree to be able to be able to do the work during those hours. I also want you to be mindful if you are feeling entitled in not working certain hours, right? And just be mindful if you're trying to avoid working on a weekend at this phase, and a lot of clients are going to want maybe like a Saturday or a Sunday. I want to encourage you to consider that it might be good for you, it might be good for them, because if you are busy working all week, your time that you can serve them outside of those work hours may be limited. It may be like 1 hour in the evening when you come home from work. And you may need to do some hours on the weekend. I remember I coached 4 days during the weekday. I think it was like Tuesday through Friday. And then I coached like 5 hours on Sunday. Right? But that's what I was willing to do because that's when I would have the energy, that's when I would have the time to be able to service people, okay? I remember, and that was paid clients, but when I had a free client, I remember waking up Saturday morning to coach this person, right? Earlier than I wanted to be up, but I was willing to do that because I was like, no, I want this experience. I want to be able to coach them. I don't want us not finding a time that works to be the reason why I don't gain the value of coaching this person or give them this value. And I was willing to do that in the beginning, and I want to encourage you to be willing and consider doing that as well, if that's what it's going to take for you to build this business right now. That's the stage you're in. Okay. And that's not a problem. And me being willing to do that was how I got that person to be my first paying client. So it definitely worked out in my favor in being able to suck it up for 6 weeks to coach them. But then after that, I made sure that we weren't coaching on Saturday mornings. I think we found another time to coach, right? Once they were my client. Okay. So just wanted to put that out there. Give yourself a time frame of when you're going to actually take the action to message these people, when you're going to follow up, and by what date you plan on having all of them scheduled for their first session. This doesn't have to be a very long drawn out first process. Literally send the message, get them on the phone to talk about it, just so that you can, here's the point, like they can say yes via text, but I want you to have a conversation with them to just kind of make sure that they understand the level of commitment that they're making to this process and the value that you're giving them, okay? Because I find when you are on the phone with them versus just messaging or emailing, you can hear if there's any level of hesitation, and you can kind of like double check and make sure that they are going to be a good fit to be able to do this work. Okay. Yeah. So remember, massive action, not passive action, committing until you create the result of the 10 clients, right? And I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to take action until it's done? Am I willing to take so much action this week that I guarantee, right, by the number of people that I'm reaching out to, that I'm connecting with, that I'm calling, that I have my 10 quality people ready to start? Because this is super, super important. And this is the work of you being able to do what's coming up next. Okay? Okay, friends.